What is going on, guys? This is Parker, and today I'm going to be breaking down Malcolm Gladwell's philosophy of thin slicing and how we use this thought process in our everyday lives. So let's get started about talking about the brain. Everyone has a brain, and everyone's brain contains a piece in the front which is called the ventromedial prefrontal cortex. Yeah, it's a really big word, but it simply means to make snap judgments on small pieces of information. And in Malcolm Gladwell's book, Blink, he just calls this thin slicing. Thin slicing is better explained as thinking without thinking. And as simple as this sounds, it makes absolutely no sense, and you're probably wondering, what am I talking about? So allow me to explain. Thin slicing is a person's ability to draw conclusions from a small amount of information over a small amount of time, which then enables our brain to come up with bigger and better ideas based on the small amount of information rather than the large, well thought out pieces of information. And Gladwell's introduction of thin slicing to the world changes the way we think about a multitude of things, such as business and how companies advertise and market their products in order to persuade their consumers to buy something. It can also show us how a relationship is working and how couples interact with each other can determine if they're going to be happy down the road. And he shows us this by introducing John Gottman, who's a professional in analyzing marriages, and he is able to sit down and watch a couple interact for 15 minutes. And by doing this, he can predict with 95% accuracy if a marriage is going to check out and stay together, or if there's areas of concern where there's possibly going to be a breakup or divorce in the future. Now, Gladwell states that the thin slices of information we use to draw conclusions can often be more reliable and more accurate than conclusions that are way more planned out and in-depth. This snap judgment process is heavily used in 21st century environment by means of social media, because nowadays everyone's connected to someone globally somehow, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, MySpace, LinkedIn, whatever you want to use. That's why everyone is at risk, and these decisions can be hazardous by creating stereotypical conclusions and biases on certain things, which in social media aspects is what we like to call hashtag beef. Now, Gladwell states that we're a bit too quick to come up with explanations for things we don't really have an explanation for. The good news about this is that Gladwell says these improper conclusions can be scratched out and ignored by the brain if rightfully practiced. Overall, Gladwell wants us to know that the key to good decision making is not knowledge, it is understanding. And by this, he wants us to be able to understand what our brain is thinking and how the process is working in our head. He wants us to be able to understand how to thin slice, when to thin slice, and why to thin slice information that we do. Because once we know how the mind works, it is our responsibility to act on making certain decisions in life. Thank you, guys, and I hope you enjoyed this quick tutorial on thin slicing. Have a good one.